I've never ran out of adjectives and paragraphs or phrases for electric vehicles. You can call them economical, you can call them green, environment friendly, but cheap, cheerful, and fun has never been a part of those lists of words. Until now, that is. On this channel, you know how much we love hatchbacks because of their fun-to-drive nature and, of course, affordability. Well, this time around, BYD is willing to deliver, and I've found gold with the BYD Seagull. Now, there is a gaggle of small EVs on the market today, affordable EVs that seem to be more bulbous, more curvaceous in their design languages. But with the BYD Seagull, it seems to be going in the opposite direction. You've got sharp lines, sharp creases everywhere, and it is undeniable how beautiful these DRLs are definitely looking. I mean, you've got full LED implementation in a subcompact small hatchback. You got the BYD badge right here up front, proudly saying that you've got a BYD. You've got these lines right here, and some people say it looks like a Lambo. I'm definitely gonna say it. Yeah, it definitely looks like a Lambo, especially in this view right here. Now, just like a good MCU film, it's got a singular overarching design flowing all the way from the front wheel all the way to the top here, giving it a real nice and aggressive look. You've got your charger on the side there. You don't have any gas tanks because this is definitely a full electric vehicle, but more on that later on. Now, we got a rule here in Zigwheels Philippines. Whenever we see black plastic claddings all around, we assume that it is a crossover SUV, but BYD is not marketing this as a crossover SUV, so having those black plastic claddings must be there just to protect this nice yellow-green paint. Now, you've got 16-inch alloy wheels on both sides. I gotta say that those wheels seem to have some nice offset to it because it kind of pops out a little bit, even aligned right here to the front and rear fenders, which is a lot of people do like. They actually pay a lot of money. Well, not a lot of money, but they pay money in order for you to do that. But BYD knows its audience, and right there, see, it's got some really nice offset. Now, you got four-wheel disc brakes all around. Now, I don't usually compare cars to other models, but I want to give you guys at least some sort of perspective of how large this is. This is no bigger than the usual Toyota Wigo, the Brio, and even the Mirage, but it's got a longer wheelbase, so you got more space inside. Plus, it creates some sort of illusion that it is taller than most of them because of this higher belt line. Plus, it's got a nice Easter egg to it. I mean, it's got a nice Easter egg for every one of us. It's got this badge right here below. In the right light, you can actually see it right there, which is a nice touch. I mean, it's got BYD Blade. Blade, of course, is the Blade battery technology that BYD is proud of, but I'll be talking about that more later on. Now, if you're a fan of bright colors, this is probably the only bright color. You won't be finding red, fuchsia, pink, violet. This is the only one right there, apart from black and white. But yeah, I kind of dig it. Jumping to the rear of the BYD Seagull, I mean, this is where you get to appreciate its wider track. It definitely has one of the widest tracks in its segment, and you can find it right here. I mean, because of those 185 16-inch wheels, you can definitely appreciate it, especially when they drive it later on. One thing that you wouldn't find in the BYD Seagull, though, is a rear windshield wiper, which is, well, to be honest, quite a bummer, but you wouldn't mind it because you got this huge, big-ass wing right here on top that denotes its sporty demeanor. Plus, it's got a shark fin antenna. You got the EV badge here, BYD. Instead of having build your dreams in the back, you got BYD, which is, of course, a nice touch for me. BYD Seagull badging right there at the bottom, and this diffuser, plastic diffuser design at the bottom as well. Two reflectors on each side, as well as the camera for the rear camera, and parking sensors. This is definitely one good looking vehicle, especially from the back. You won't get any power tailgates here. Instead, you get a manual lift gate, which gives you access to all this space inside. No 60-40 split, but you can fold this right down. So if you plan to buy at least, let's see, 2 weeks worth of groceries, you can fit it right there. And if you have a longer item, just fold this rear seat down and you should be good. The overall exterior of the BYD Seagull is definitely different from all the other small EVs, even small hatchbacks, which are powered by internal combustion engines that even non-EV fans will definitely find this really fetching. So let's take a look at the inside and see what's what about this little bad boy right here. All right, so my first impression about the interior of the BYD Seagull, it does reflect the same aquatic theme as the BYD Dolphin and the BYD Atto 3, but this time around it must have had toned down a bit, and that is actually to my preference. Now, although some people like all those curves and all those nice edges around there of the BYD Atto 3 and the BYD Dolphin, this one here, it just is simply nice. I mean, you've got the BYD design badges on each corner of the AC vents. You got these holes on each side, which is there to add some sort of vents there, but they designed it in a way to make it at least look integrated into the dashboard. So it does have at least speakers on each side to enjoy yourself inside, because you would want them, because you do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to help you out. But let me get to that in a bit. It does have some soft touch material right here on the middle of the dash, as well as on the door, and a wireless charger. And I believe this is a fast wireless charger. Yes, it is a 15-watt wireless charger, which is required because you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I mean, cars these days should have that, because why wouldn't you? Our phones pretty much are an extension to myself, so why not cars as well? Which is nice, it's charging right now. But this seems to be a little bit too loose for my end. So anyway, what's interesting about the BYD Seagull here is the implementation of its control buttons. So one of the complaints people are having about modern cars, especially with EVs, is that they seem to integrate the controls in the touchscreen infotainment system. Not with the BYD Seagull though. You've got all your controls right here in the middle as a scroll. So you got your scroll volume knob here. Even to control your AC, you got it right there. Even your automatic brake hold button or scroll wheel or toggle switch is right here, as well as your drive mode selector, and more interestingly, your shift button. It's right here in the middle as well. The tiniest little shifter you will ever see is right there. Now, you won't find any electronic parking brakes or parking brakes here. You will have to get used to just touching on the park button and trusting that the vehicle will lock it in place. Right there, park brake on. So there you go. So if you shift onto drive, it'll automatically unbrake and release the electronic parking brake. And just shifting it again to D will set it to drive. Let's just leave it to park for now. So the steering wheel is nicely, well, it's nicely weighted. I mean, you've got this nice chunky steering wheel. Here you got all the control buttons you need, your volume, your call buttons, as well as your cruise control. That's right, it does have a cruise control. And a nice little trick, it, like all other BYD cars that we reviewed, the screen actually rotates into TikTok mode. There you go, in a vertical fashion. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It is a system limitation for those types of softwares. So as soon as you enter Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it goes back to a landscape orientation, which is fine. For a 10-inch touch infotainment system, I'm not complaining. Now, you won't find any gauge clusters here. Instead, you got a small, dinky 7-inch screen for all your information, and it is pretty low resolution, especially when compared to this huge screen, but that is fine. What is a little iffy for me, though, is that the steering wheel is only adjustable for rake, not reach, but that's fine. You know why? These seats are one of the most comfortable, the most intuitive seats that I've ever sat on, no matter what model or segment it is, because they're really soft, supportive, and they ride really low, and I appreciate that. You got a black headliner, which I love. Of course, it's easier to clean, and these blank buttons seem to be there for a reason. I guess there are some models in international models where you got a sunroof, but here you don't have that. Anyway, you got two USB ports. You got a USB-C and a USB-A port there. So first impressions, the front is really nice. I mean, you've got this light blue color scheme here. BYD told us that on the white and black colors of the BYD Seagull, you got that in dark blue, but here you got it in light blue, which is the UNC colorway that I really like. All right, so right here, the rear seats, you can definitely see that the BYD Seagull is meant for 4 people. You don't get a center armrest there, and you don't get a center headrest as well. Now, these windows, though, as I mentioned, on the outside, it's got a higher belt line than most, which means it's a little claustrophobic. I am sitting behind my own optimum driving position, and I really never expected a lot from a subcompact hatchback, but here you've got tons of space for your knees. And since the seat is situated a little higher, you got space for my feet. You got a flat floor, which is its biggest advantage over the other cars in the market, whether it's ICE or EVs. You got a flat floor plus a place for you to put all your stuff in there as well. Okay, I'm not gonna delve too much into this. We'll be talking more about this in our full review, but here I am thoroughly impressed with the space we have in the back. The BYD Seagull is a front-wheel drive electric vehicle with a 30 kilowatt hour battery powering that motor. Now, according to BYD and according to their tests, this can reach around 300 kilometers in a single charge, but realistically speaking, I bet you guys would be expecting around 270. It is pretty rainy outside, and the tires are trying their best to keep me on the road, and yeah, it can definitely do so. It's got really good turning radius. I'm surprised with the turning radius of this thing. I mean, check this out. I'm doing a 1-to-1 U-turn of each lane, and it's able to do so. This is crazy. All right, so that motor can do about 75 horsepower, 75 PS, and 135 Newton meters of torque. It can go from 0 to 50 in under 5 seconds. I said 50 because that's what BYD coded it to be, and that's where the fun zone is for the BYD Seagull. So its acceleration is definitely top notch, which is definitely a hallmark of all electric vehicles. But with an electric vehicle of this size and with its demeanor, the way its suspension works, yeah, this is one fun car. So I know what you guys are asking. I mean, how is the noise in this thing? One of the EV selling points is that you're taking out noise out of the equation, noise, vibration, and harshness, because you don't have an engine to deal with. You don't, especially with the cars this size. You got 3-cylinder engines, which are pretty noisy and pretty vibrating. But in this case, though, it's gone. You don't have any of those vibrations, but you do have noise. It's undeniable. You do have noise to deal with, which is part of its budget nature. I mean, the doors, you can definitely hear a lot of the wind noise, and the tires, these are eco tires, so you can hear a lot of the road noise coming in, permeating through the cabin, and you can actually hear that motor as well. But it's not bad. It's raining really hard, and I can actually hear the rain, but I doubt that buyers in this price range, for buyers like me, will actually mind those things, because it's still pretty quiet if you compare it to those types of ICE vehicles, that is. So let's talk about safety. Now, one thing that the BYD Seagull has on top of most other cars in the segment is definitely those safety features. So you got 4 airbags inside, you got ABS, electronic brake force distribution, you got stability control, you got a backup camera with rear sensors, and yes, even cruise control. You don't get those fancy advanced cruise control things like adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, but it's fine. How often would you take a car this size outside the city anyway? I mean, that particular range, again, it's not really meant for highway driving, long driving, going up north. I'm sure a lot of guys will be doing that, but it's really not meant for that. You would be better off with the BYD Atto 3 or the BYD Dolphin if you even dare. But here, it's perfectly fine. Living in the city, charging at night, that's okay. Speaking of charging, this is pretty much compatible with any charger that you'd find at the mall. So no need to fear the security guards, shooing you away because you don't have the compatible charger. Yes, those chargers at popular malls will definitely work with this one, and you do have a wall charger on it as well. So if you're asking how long this will take to charge, since it's a smaller battery, fast charging this will take about 30 minutes from 20% to 80%, which is the ideal charge you have to be in anyway. And of course, once you plug it in at home with a home charger, you'll get there in no time. Overnight charging should be fine. All right, so pricing, well, BYD Philippines has yet to inform us or confirm what the exact price is. They only mentioned that it would be below, well below 1 million pesos. So right here, you'll see the price on top. So by this time, you should be able to know what it is, and it'll be in the description box below as well. So my first impressions of this, it's definitely a winner. If you want to get your first electric vehicle, this is a good stepping stone towards that. And you could do a lot worse than the BYD Seagull. It's fun. It's a bucket full of monkeys fun. And at the same time, safe, affordable, and looks pretty darn good. So one of the biggest fears about getting an fully electric vehicle is how long will the battery last? Well, thankfully, BYD is no mom and pop EV company. BYD is one of the, if not the largest battery and electric vehicle maker in the world. Plus, it's backed by AC Motors, which they promise, and they definitely want to stand by their own promise with you will be getting a quality product, and they got your back when it comes to warranty. Bumper to bumper, you get 6 years and 150,000 kilometers. The battery has a longer warranty. You've got 8 years or 160,000 kilometers, and the motor, 8 years and 150,000 kilometers, which also comes first, which is pretty much in line with how long you would probably be servicing your car anyway. And by the time it reaches its 8th year, its 6th year, then that's pretty much the time that you should start thinking there's going to be a lot more cars again in the future. But now, I'm glad that at least you'll get your money's worth and you get your investment back when you buy an EV like this one, the BYD Seagull. So that's our first look of the BYD Seagull, and yes, our initial impressions is that it definitely gives a 1-2 punch and a jiu-jitsu hold against the competition, but I want to know what you think. Before we post a full review of the BYD Seagull, drop me a comment in the comment section down below and tell me what you want to find out, and we'll be focusing on our full review. It's been Roy Robles of Zigwheels.Ph. I will see you guys next time.